Am I the a-hole for telling my kids that I won't be lonely for the rest of my life, and if they don't come to my wedding, you clearly don't give a shit about my happiness? Everyone is an adult. My husband has been officially dead for 3 years. He might as well have been dead for a few years already though. He was declining for a long time and was basically a veggie for 3 years until he passed. I was the one that took care of him until he went to a high care facility. In all honesty, I already started the mourning process years before he died. So when he did die, I already accepted it. I started to date right after his death, and I met a very nice guy. We have been together for a while, and he proposed to me. He is also a widow. I'll call him Tim. Tim is a great guy, and my kids hate him. He has done nothing to make them hate him. The worst he has done the whole time was go on a rant about planes. My kids hate his guts. They really hate that I am moving on. I have discussed this before with them, and it boils down to I am replacing their father. All I ask is for them to be polite to him. He doesn't deserve their hate. He proposed, and I said yes. I informed the kids at a family dinner that I am getting remarried. They blew up, and it started an argument. Two said they will not come to my wedding on principle of the whole thing. I informed my kids I won't be lonely for my whole life, and if they don't come to my wedding, they clearly don't give a shit about my happiness. They called me a jerk, and I want an outside opinion.
I started to date right after his death. This is an unclear timeline. Could you please give a number to right away? Together a while and he proposed. Again, unclear timeline. You said everyone is an adult, but are they like 18? This whole situation feels so vague and like you're hiding a lot. It sounds like they are mourning the death of their father. Then you throw some guilt their way because you moved on very fast.
I started to go on dates again, for months after he passed. I went on dates with people. I have been with Tim for almost 2 years. I met Tim about a year after my husband passed. I already went through most of the mourning process when he was alive. He has been dead for a while to me before he even died. He was in a vegetable state. He couldn't even talk 2 years before he died. He was alive, but no one was home for a while before he died. He just laid there, dead to the world.
Not the a-hole. Since your children are in their 30s, I'm assuming they have lives of their own and were not as involved in the daily care of your husband as you were. They weren't there caring for him every day. They weren't having to deal with every aspect of the long-term care. They weren't the ones who were mourning the loss of a partner for years before he finally passed. Some people here will side with your children, that your grieving should have started when he died, and they won't understand that you were grieving for years before that even happened. That when he passed, it was probably a sort of relief to be able to finally close that chapter. I applaud you for moving on with your life. You aren't replacing your husband, you're finding a new companion for the next chapter in your life. This is a pithy example, but when your dog dies after 15 years, are you erasing that time when you get a new puppy? No, the first dog still is and always will be part of your family, and you love and miss it, but it doesn't mean you should never have another dog again. I'd recommend talking to your children and find out what they expect of you. You said your children are 37, 34, 31, so I'm guessing you're in your early 60s. Do they think you should be by yourself for the next 30 years and have no companionship? That living vicariously through their lives is supposed to be enough for you. They probably need reassurance from you that you still love your husband and miss him every day, and that they're still allowed to talk about him and miss him, even around him. And I realize that you started dating only 4 months after your husband died, but you mourned the loss of him for years before that happened. A different commenter on here is asking for a detailed timeline. It might not be bad to show your kids something like that. 1. Your dad's health started declining in 2016. 2. His cognitive ability was gone in 2018 and went into a full-time treatment center. 3. He died in 2021. 4. I started dating in 2022 after mourning him and grieving the loss of my partner and companion for 6 years. I think you're fine. Best wishes to you and Tim.
I would also like to know just how involved, or not involved, the children had in the care of their father. How much time did they manage to spend with him?
Not much. They would visit, but they were not very involved. They knew what was happening, but they had their own lives.
OP, you deserve happiness. My dad nursed my mother for 3 hard years while she slowly died from cancer. 3 years later he married a very nice widow. All 6 of his kids were happy for them because we knew how lonely he had been for such a long time. She did not replace my mother, she's a great new partner for my dad. Her kids had trouble with the marriage very similar to your kids. It's been 5 years, and most of them came around, the ones who didn't got left behind. Congratulations, I wish you great joy.
Would I be the a-hole if I didn't let my daughter, 15 female, go to Orlando even though she paid for it? My daughter Ella is 15. When she started high school last year, we were told the band would be going on this field trip to Orlando. Of course, the trip was expensive. Since Ella is growing up, my husband and I decided that if she wanted to go, she would have to pay half of the cost. Ella agreed, and she started spending weekends or teacher workdays on holidays babysitting her siblings, 5 male, 9 female, for $22 an hour. Either my husband or I would stay home and make sure everything was all right, and if there were times that both of us had to be out of the house, we'd make sure to ask our neighbors to keep an eye out and pay Ella $25 an hour. We were never gone for more than 2 hours. With babysitting, some family members graciously providing her with money to help her out, cleaning, and some money she had already saved, Ella was able to make a good amount of money, which we were so proud of her for and made sure to voice this to her. Ella was able to make enough money quickly, so we were planning to sign her up for the trip. But earlier this week, I was informed that Ella had been mistreating a girl in her grade for having a mental illness, writing awful notes and putting them in the girl's bag, spreading disgusting and derogatory rumors, posting things about her online. It's a whole mess, and when I was called in, I could barely even listen the moment after I was told my daughter was bullying someone. I thought I had raised her right, told her to treat everyone with respect and kindness. I've never seen any sort of signs or behavior that would ever indicate that Ella even thought badly about others, and now after 15 years I'm told she fat-shamed a little 14-year-old girl. Her excuse being that someone with an illness shouldn't be allowed to get a higher test score than her. Ella was given a suspension, but it's very short. The school's motto is that they don't tolerate bullying at all, yet it feels as if she was only given a slap on the wrist and told not to do it again. It also feels wrong that I'm thinking this way, but I do think that there should be more done. The girl Ella had been bullying is also in the band, and I'm pretty sure she will be going to Orlando. Would it be wrong if I didn't allow Ella to go on the trip? She paid for half of the trip, but I don't think she deserves to go. I can't think of any other way to punish her. She loves to read and isn't on her phone often. She has a good amount of friends, but doesn't hang out with them often. What am I supposed to do? Take away her books and make her hang out with her friends more? Yeah, I think the trip is a good lesson, but my husband and a good friend of mine don't agree with the decision, the reasoning being that Ella worked for that money. I understand what they mean, which is why of course I'll let Ella keep what she earned, just not let her go on that trip. I don't want that girl to have any possibility of being bullied again. Would I be the a-hole?
You save the money, you get to go on a field trip. You subject another human being to horrific emotional abuse, you lose that field trip. All of our actions have consequences. Not just the positive ones. Not the a-hole.
Well said. This is a very important lesson for kids to learn. One that parents too often shield them from.
You would not be the a-hole. She did a great job earning the money for her band trip. She bullied another kid and has to face the consequences. Both of these things can be, and are, true. It sounds like a fair punishment to me. The consequence is that she lost the privilege to go on this cool trip. Even though it's been in the works for a long time, the trip is still a privilege. She also lost your trust in her ability to behave appropriately when you're not around, so how could you let her go? You obviously want to ensure the girl's emotional safety on the trip, and you can't trust your daughter to help with that. I wish more parents thought like you do.
The trip has been in the works for a long time, but apparently so has the bullying. Emotionally abusing someone like that doesn't just all start at once, it escalates over time. Fair punishment, and I hope she learns that playing a-hole games wins you shitty prizes. Not the a-hole.
Is there any way you can chaperone the trip? If the teacher has enough chaperones, try explaining to the teacher why you'd like to be included. Because frankly, I'd say let her go on the trip, but you shadow her every move as if she were still 2 years old, even to having her share your hotel room instead of another student. Because she's shown she can't be trusted on her own to behave in a civilized manner. That way, the consequences of losing trust become very clear to her over the course of the entire trip as she realizes her entire class sees her being treated like an infant. Basically, she earned the right to go on the trip by earning the money. She also earned getting direct supervision on that trip by proving that she can't be trusted otherwise. And overall, I'd address her sense of entitlement. She's not entitled to a better grade than someone else just because she's healthier. Not the a-hole.
What do you think of these stories? Leave a comment and subscribe to the channel for more interesting stories.